a lovely day for a car show. Everything is going normally. The 1969 Camaro Big Block, that's polished with the owner's bust, is going to win again. But wait. What's this? What's this? Who's that?
救急車が通ります。ご注意ください。
Oh my God! I can't believe what I'm seeing! Entering the ring, unannounced, from the land of the rising sun, standing 8 feet 6 inches high, 18 and a half feet long, weighing in at 6,460 pounds, it's the Paramedic! This is unprecedented! In all my years of sports broadcasting, I have never seen this before! The Paramedic has single-handedly pile-driven all the other contestants and is taking the Best in Show belt for herself. Ladies and gentlemen, the crowd is going insane. The children are cheering, arms outstretched. They like seeing the rotating, incandescent analog lights, the trumpeting siren. They have forgotten about our contestants Camaro and Oldsmobile. Kids love the Paramedic. This car show is over.
バックします。ご注意ください。バックします。ご注意ください。バックします。ご注意ください。
Welcome to the last day of this giveaway for this Ford Focus RS. Today's the last day. The giveaway is ending tonight. So go to fanofthem.com/regularcars, buy some limited edition merch, and you're automatically entered to win this delightful, thank you. Time for me to go. Rented box truck, yes. How about another gear? Here we go. Turbo kicks in, and we're off.
Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Take off your fedoras, put down your fan-translated copy of Mother 3,
And pull the hell over.
The Nissan Paramedic is here to administer weeaboo wellness. Quick, we're losing him. Bro, wave some G Fuel under his nose. It's like Narcan for edgelords. Wait, no, scratch that. I have another idea. It's risky, but it just might work. Get me his asthma inhaler. Nissan Paramedic. When you wanted a high ace, but only if somebody coded in the back of it. This is a 2000 Nissan Paramedic Japanese ambulance. And it wins every single car show it goes to. There are about maybe 5 of these in the United States. And Tony Airlines, friend of the show, owns one. And I wasn't exaggerating about the weight. This thing weighs about 3 tons. And the fuel economy is so poor, the IRS doesn't even expect a W-2. And it doesn't make it easy for you by just being one thing. So, in North America, our ambulances are truck frames to which a box is placed on the back. But Japanese emergency vehicles have to operate in a different environment. The roads are smaller, cities are tighter, there's a lot of hairpin corners, and moving up and down through altitudes, you've seen the movies, sort of like the West Coast. Can be nice at sea level and quickly you're up in the mountains and there's snow. So this ambulance is partially built on a minivan chassis. Up front, it's a E50 Nissan Elgrand van. But from the B-pillar backward, it's a Paramedic 2, which is an E24 Caravan commercial body. So this is like an automotive Centaur. And like a Centaur, you're going to have people who are only into one half of the package instead of the whole thing. And for people at car shows, the back of this, the ambulance part of it, is what people at car shows want to see. And they're going to want to start touching everything in here like a ghost hunter in a funeral home. Moving things out of place or laying on the bed and cosplaying as somebody in cardiac arrest. Gee, this is pretty comfortable, they'll say, not recognizing how rare it is to get such a detailed preview of the future. And I totally understand. You're not allowed to touch anything in an ambulance. I remember being at the Friedensburg Block Party. next to Blue Mountain Elementary West. Shout out Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania. And at the beginning of summer, there was a block party in the parking lot of the firehouse next door to the school. And during the block party, the ambulance was pulled out of the garage and parked somewhere on the grounds, and 3 EMTs were always hanging out with the rear doors of the ambulance open. And to a little kid, to me, they looked so cool, like they were part of a secret club. And there was all kinds of stuff in the back of the ambulance, and it all looked weird. And I wanted to see. And to a little lad, I want to see really means I want to touch. Because a child is like Johnny 5. It wants input. And all 5 senses, too. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. And this flashing box is full of new experience. And parents had to hold me back. No, don't go in there. That's not for you. So now at car shows, adults feel the pull of childhood discovery. Their arms reach out for drawers, the oxygen equipment, the heavy switches, jump seats, the sink, and they ask, may I touch? And if Tony says yes, their faces brighten, and they feel a joy they haven't experienced since their lunch table was given extra tater tots. Of course, at car shows, you're also going to have people who want to see under the hood. So up under the hood is the 3.3-liter Nissan VG33E. It's a gasoline V6. It's connected to a 4-speed automatic transmission with selectable all-wheel drive. It's basically the same engine from the USDM Xterra and the Pathfinder and the Frontier of that era. So it's underpowered relative to American expectations of ambulance powertrains. Some of the old Fords use the modular V10. You'll have fire rescue using turbo Cummins. Some of the smaller American ambulances will have a 5.7-liter LS. Others, unfortunately, have to make do with the reprehensible Triton. But you get my point. We have big engines here. But the positive for Tony is that USDM parts are cross-compatible, so you can save some money on maintenance. For example, Tony replaced the stock Japanese radiator with one from a USDM Frontier. From factory, this engine makes 170 horsepower and 202 pound-feet of torque, pulling over 3 tons, not including crew and patient. Fuel economy? Well, it's barely worth noting. The tank is approximately 14 gallons. Tony filled it up this morning before the shoot, and by the time he got to us, about an hour away, it was already down to about a third, which would mean this thing gets about 10 miles a gallon. Which is a pain, but to make matters worse, this engine requires premium. Why? Well, because in Japan, their regular is R91. So all their cars have higher compression. Not crazy high. 91 is kind of our mid-grade. Except for California, they don't get 93 out there, at least not everywhere. So you have to put at least 91 in here, or the NOx sensor is going to be throwing a conniption fit. But there's a tacit understanding that sacrifices must be made at the altar of JDM quirkiness and emergency utility. So, for example, when you turn these analog lights on, these are incandescent lights up here, not efficient LEDs. Nope, this thing's 26 years old. The idle drops. But the trade-off is that when you have to be running a lot of accessories, you have a button on the dash that's for your high idle circuit. And it'll bump your idle up to 1,100 RPM, so not to drain the battery. Because all the life-saving medical equipment here has to run off the alternator. Yes, there are backup batteries as well. But when this thing's running, it's not just the lights and sirens. It has a self-leveling, pneumatically operated gurney bed. Although Tony doesn't have the gurney, it didn't come with one. A Bluetooth device for hands-free hospital call head functions. A button on the dash that's the panic mode. Like if you're in a situation where you can't individually arm everything, you're doing a million things at once, they have a button. You just press it, all lights, sirens immediately. Granted, not everything in here requires electricity, like the Renaissance Fair pedal-operated sink. Up front, you don't have many creature comforts. For terrestrial radio, you only get the AM frequency, no FM. And you only have one speaker, and it's part of the single DIN. You do get a tape cassette player up top,
but that's only connected to the PA system. What it's for is for pre-recorded public announcements based on some sort of specific emergency. The driver or assistant would have a case of individual cassette tapes. And if there's some specific emergency that they need to just make public announcements on, it'll be on a tape cassette. You put it into that system, and then it'll just loop. You do have a power outlet in the back, but it's only 100 volt, not USDM 110. So I'm not sure if it'll charge anything. So what is it like to drive this thing? What's it like to drive a JDM ambulance? Back and beginning to, again, using my head as if it's gonna help. It's not. Okay, foot on the, there she goes. There's the V6. Shifts well before red line. My foot's on the floor. There is 80 kilometers an hour. Then she's making a good noise while she's doing that. Almost a red line. 100 kilometers is coming up. Nice. Anybody next to me? No. So we were not able to hit 60. Yes, this thing has disc brakes, but they're minivan brakes. Pressing on the brake pedal feels like friction brakes on a huffy bicycle from the 1990s. You're slowing down, but those Airwalk sneakers are going to have to drop down to the asphalt in an emergency. This was an enjoyable experience to take out on a Sunday afternoon, but that's a very different context from what this was made for. This paramedic served the fire department of, and I forgive my pronunciation, Hidaka, Japan for 20 years, and then served a hospital for 5 more. And it's a testament to how valuable and important ambulances have been to transportation history. Ambulances predate automobiles. And I don't think anybody has really thought about that too much. Depending on the source, they've been around in wagon form since at least the 15th century. By wagon, I mean a cart being pulled by a beast of burden. While other historians say that the idea of an ambulance goes back to 900 AD, and they come in all shapes and sizes, even as North America has settled on, the box. But even though this is shaped different, that's more or less what it is. Simple, unassuming chamber of altruistic modesty with a V6 and a 4-speed automatic. Somehow both heroic and modest at the same time. Like a man who's afraid to give his opinions for fear of offending someone who isn't present. When we think of ambulances, we think of urgency. We think of authority. But maybe that's from a United States standpoint. EMTs and paramedics are, from my perspective, a little paramilitary. But then again, EMTs in the United States have to deal with a lot of GSWs. It's part of the culture. And the American triumph of the individual, unfortunately, leads a lot of old folks to believe that anybody attempting to help them is simultaneously a threat to that individuality. That's why you have stories of old men literally trying to fight the people trying to save them. And I have a feeling it doesn't work that way in Japan. And I think that's reflected in the way this ambulance looks. It doesn't look aggressive. It doesn't look like a battle vehicle. It's smooth. It's aerodynamic. It's futuristic looking. And that's what's interesting about it. It's this 2000s era futuristic style. They didn't have to mold the emergency lights into the body of the car. They didn't have to curve the metal in which the loudspeaker sits. I said it looks like a whale, but now I say it looks like a beluga whale. Yeah, it's round, but it moves through the water, it moves through the environment, it moves through the air. I mean, not all heroes wear capes, and the paramedic is about as capeless as it gets. I won't say being a paramedic is a thankless job. Plenty of people thank them, and I do as well. But it does feel like a lot of the credit for saving lives ends up going to the doctors who eventually get the patient over the finish line, forgetting that it took an EMT, a paramedic, and a wheelman to keep them alive until they got to the hospital, and a capable vehicle to transport them to the hospital in the first place. But real heroes don't care about credit. Actual heroism is as subtle as doing the job you signed up for. Too many people go online and comment on insert local tragedy and talk about all the ways they would have stopped it if they had been there.
Well, no one would have gotten hurt on my watch,
they say, phone resting on the penile canopy between their chest and lower mongoose.
head held snugly by a Von Dutch cap hiding a hairline that's moonwalking away from his face faster than Michael Jackson at Motown 25. His favorite dating app? Catcalling strangers from a construction site at which he doesn't work. His favorite sports team? The Confederacy. His favorite UFC fighter? Whichever American speaks English as poorly as he does. Facebook, Reddit, local news websites, Town Watch Facebook group, and community pages are loaded with these spirit Halloween supermen sitting at their keyboards, preaching the gospel of easy virtue. The dogma of choice for people who risk nothing because their selflessness is purely hypothetical. Nissan Paramedic, the official car of service before self-promotion. The Nissan Paramedic is a hero's car, as all ambulances are, because it's an image that transcends cultural separation. Even ambulances that don't necessarily look like the ambulances we're used to seeing are still perceivable as such, because our brains are wired to recognize symbols of deliverance. An ambulance is legible in every tongue, because entropy is the only universal language. It's almost hard to be truly objective about it, because like the fire truck we reviewed so many years ago, even at its worst stages of operation, it represents the best part of someone's worst day. Yet I'd like to add to that notion, because I can't imagine how those worst days are easy for the rescuers either. Those scars stay with them. We know EMTs. Some of them are my friends, in my closest circles. My job is to drive cars, then sit in a coffee shop and make jokes about them, then stand here in front of this mic and perform for you. But some of my friends go to work, and every single day they are meeting people in moments of crisis. And it's unfair of me to ask them to keep their crisis at work, because we all want to go out to eat and have fun and laugh. And it's unfair for me to desire not to hear about how he had to hold some grandmother's hand as she slowly slipped away in the back of the rig. And I'm sure the same thing is true in Japan. Sirens, lights, just you and someone you just met. And the face of the EMT or the paramedic is the last thing she or he or they will see. And the paramedic knows this. And they try to have a gallows humor, knowing that this is just another Tuesday. But it isn't. This is a serious day. And they have to tell you about it. And I have to listen. We have to listen. EMTs and paramedics get paid a fraction of what they should be paid to deal with the chaotic and terrifying moments of loved ones' last moments. But I'm glad they keep doing it. Our healthcare system in the United States is run by devils. But the folks down in the trenches in the ambulance, they're making the best out of an evil situation. They are the people who have heard grown men cry in the way a child cries, without a thought to who they might need to be staying strong for. And in a larger arc of all of this is the ambulance. You can't separate this Nissan Paramedic from what its intended purpose was. Yes, it's becoming a camper van now. It can never be an ambulance again. Oh, and by the way, this next thing is very important. If you're thinking of buying a used ambulance, you certainly can. USDM or JDM, that is your right. But you can never drive this to a hospital or transport anyone in it. That's not your job. Even though you have the lights and the sirens, nope, that's the job for the real EMTs. EMTs like the electric medic. Shout out. I know we're a little bit far away in the greater Philadelphia area, but if your adventures ever take you down here, you're welcome to check out an ambulance from the other side of the planet. See how they do things over there. Everything's the same in here, but it's all a little bit different. This Nissan Paramedic was a beautiful, sleek, but blunt tool for human survival, and many people are better for it, even if it's not ours. Ambulances may not be great cars, but they're cars for great people. May you never find yourself in need of one. Thank you. See you next week.